How to graph y equals negative 1/2 x squared using a table of values. To do this problem, we're going to follow 3 steps. Step 1, we're going to set up a t-chart with our x column and our y equals negative 1/2 x squared, and then record our xy coordinates. Let's begin. We're going to use x values of -2, -1, 0, 1, and 2, and then substitute them into the equation to get our xy pairing. If x is -2, we have y equals negative 1/2 times the quantity of -2 squared. So use your calculator and input it correctly, and you should get an output of y equals -2, and hence the pairing is -2, -2. Likewise, if we substitute -1 into the equation, we have -1/2 times the quantity of -1 squared, and you should get -1/2 as your result. The pairing therefore is -1, -1/2. And if x is 0, we substitute 0 into the equation and we get y equals -1/2 times 0 squared, which is 0, and the output is 0, 0. Next, we have if x equals 1, we have y equals -1/2 times the quantity of 1 squared, which is -1/2. And thus the pairing is 1, -1/2. And lastly, if x is 2, we have y equals -1/2 times the quantity of 2 squared, which is -2. And the xy pairing is 2, -2. And that is step 1. Step 2, we have an xy Cartesian plane, and we're going to plot these 5 points onto the grid. So to plot -2, -2, we start at the origin, go left 2, and down 2. And there's our point. To plot -1, -1/2, start at the origin, go left 1, and half point down, and plot your point. For 0, 0, we just plot it at the origin. For 1, -1/2, we start at the origin, go right 1, down 1/2, and then the last point is 2, -2. We start at the origin, go 2 to the right, and 2 down. And there are your 5 key critical points. And step number 3 is to draw a curve that goes through all 5 key critical points, and it should look something like this. And that is how you graph y equals -1/2 x squared using a table of values.